Somewhere right now, a boat builder is finalizing engine specs for next year's flagship center console, and one manufacturer's name keeps getting crossed off the list for a reason nobody can quite explain. It isn't Mercury, which just showed off an 808 horsepower V12 concept. It isn't Honda, sitting comfortably behind its 350 horsepower V8. It isn't Yamaha, already shipping a 450 horsepower V8 onto customer hulls. It's Suzuki, a company that hasn't grown its flagship engine in 9 straight years. And on July 14th, 2026, Suzuki finally said something about it out loud for the first time in over a year. Not a new engine, not a spec sheet. One sentence, buried inside a press release about an executive promotion that the entire outboard industry has been waiting to hear. Here's what that sentence actually said, why it's rattling dealers and boat builders more than almost anything else in boating right now, and why it might be the biggest announcement in the industry this summer. The press release itself looked routine. Suzuki promoted a longtime executive named Brandon Circa to head sales, marketing, and service for the entire company, the kind of announcement most people scroll straight past. But buried inside it was one line from Suzuki Marine USA President Daiki Sugiura. Suzuki, in his words, has exciting new products on the horizon and big plans for the future. That single sentence is the closest thing to an on-the-record confirmation Suzuki has given that something enormous is finally coming. To understand why one sentence in a promotion announcement counts as market-shaking news, you have to see the gap Suzuki has been sitting in. At the Miami International Boat Show this past February, Mercury filled booth MB 1700 with that 808 horsepower V12 concept, sitting a short walk from Boston Whaler's brand new 360 Outrage, a boat that ships standard with triple 300 horsepower Mercury V8s, but can be rigged with triple 400 horsepower V10s for 1200 combined horsepower, or even twin 600 horsepower V12 Veridos. Honda had its 350 horsepower V8 sitting front and center. Suzuki, over at booth MB 1914, brought the exact same lineup it's been selling for years. No new engine, no hint of what Sugiura's big plans actually meant, just the same 350 horsepower flagship Suzuki has leaned on since 2017. So what has Suzuki actually built, and why has that ceiling held so long? The company's first outboard, the D55, came out in 1965, a single-cylinder, 5.5 horsepower two-stroke developed out of research into weed harvesting equipment on Lake Hamana in Japan. 20 years later, in 1985, Suzuki launched its first V6 outboards, badged the DT150 and DT200, and the 200 Exante went on to win a National Marine Manufacturers Association Innovation Award in 1987. In 1994 came Suzuki's first four-stroke outboards, small portables badged the DF 9.9 and DF 15. Then, in 2006, a new engine called the DF 300 became the industry's first 300 horsepower V6 four-stroke outboard, and the first outboard of any kind to use an electronic remote control instead of a mechanical cable. 5 years after that, an updated version of that same engine introduced Suzuki Selective Rotation, the first outboard anywhere that could run in either standard or counter rotation from a single unit. Between those two engines alone, Suzuki collected 2 more NMMA Innovation Awards, part of 9 the company has picked up across 60 years in the marine business, more than any rival manufacturer in the four-stroke category. The engine at the center of this entire story launched in June of 2017, the DF350A. 4.4 liters, a V6, 350 horsepower, and something no outboard had ever done at any size before, a genuine dual prop system, 2 contra-rotating propellers turning on the same shaft instead of one, killing the torque-induced prop walk that makes big single-engine boats squirrely at low speed. Suzuki branded it Gyeki, and the 350A won yet another NMMA Innovation Award the year it launched. Since then, Suzuki has kept polishing that same family instead of growing it. A smaller 300 horsepower version arrived in 2019. Suzuki crossed 4 million outboard motors produced worldwide in 2022, with the 4 millionth unit off the line fittingly one of those flagship 350 models. A world-first microplastic collecting device became standard equipment that same year. An integrated steering system and new gear case followed in 2023, and the blacked-out Stealth line picked up a boating industry top products award on top of it. 9 years after the DF350A launched, 350 horsepower is still Suzuki's hard ceiling, exactly the ceiling Sugiura's announcement is now hinting is about to break. That ceiling is the actual problem, because everyone else has already smashed through it at exactly the moment the industry can least afford to sit still. The National Marine Manufacturers Association's own data through this spring shows the recreational boating market still navigating elevated interest rates and cautious buyers, which means every manufacturer is fighting harder for a shrinking pool of serious customers, and horsepower has become one of the sharpest ways to win that fight. Mercury has been shipping a 5.7-liter V10 in 350, 400, and 425 horsepower configurations since 2025. Brunswick's own chief executive told investors on an April 2026 earnings call that Mercury currently has 5 separate new outboard platforms in development simultaneously, and that outboard propulsion revenue alone grew 17% that quarter. Honda forced its way into the big block conversation in 2024 with its 350 horsepower V8. Yamaha has its own V8 flagship, the XTO Offshore, a 5.6-liter, 450 horsepower engine already rigged onto boats on the water. Every other major outboard manufacturer on Earth has moved past the V6 ceiling Suzuki hit back in 2017. Suzuki is the only one of the big four left standing there without an answer, which is exactly why one sentence from its own president counts as the biggest boating announcement of the summer. If you've made it this far, hit subscribe, because what Suzuki does next could decide whose engine ends up strapped to the back of your next boat. Suzuki knows exactly how this looks from the outside, and Sugiura's July statement is only the latest in a string of hints the company has been dropping on purpose for over a year without ever showing its hand. At the 2025 Miami International Boat Show, company representatives confirmed to industry press that Suzuki was close to unveiling an entirely new outboard model, then released absolutely no specifications. That fall, at the Fort Lauderdale International Boat Show, Suzuki's booth ran a moody, ninja-themed teaser video on a loop, hinting at something bigger than the current flagship, again without confirming a single number. Industry insiders who track the outboard market closely have speculated it could be Suzuki's first ever V8, with a displacement larger than 4.4 liters, possibly north of 5 liters, finally putting Suzuki into the 500 horsepower class where Mercury and Yamaha already live, most likely still carrying that same dual prop system forward as its signature. None of that is confirmed. The V8 everyone is waiting for still does not officially exist, and Sugiura's announcement, as big as it sounds, still never used the words horsepower, V8, or engine. Here's why the weight matters far beyond spec sheets. Outboard horsepower has been climbing specifically because boat builders are now putting outboards on hulls that used to demand diesel inboards or stern drives entirely. Triple and quadruple outboard packages on offshore center consoles are no longer rare. The new Boston Whaler 360 Outrage riding on triple V10s is proof of that. Every major engine manufacturer is racing to be the one those hulls get engineered around from the very first sketch. Mercury's own leadership has said outright that the company isn't just selling more engines, it's taking volume from propulsion categories outboards historically couldn't touch. A boat builder deciding right now whether to design their next flagship hull around Suzuki, Mercury, Honda, or Yamaha power has to gamble on whether Suzuki's answer arrives in time to matter, or whether the safer play is a rival that already has a proven V8 or V10 on the water. Every month Suzuki stays quiet after an announcement like this one is another month those decisions get made without it in the room. There's a real case, though, for reading Suzuki's slow rollout as strategy rather than stalling. This is a company that waited 11 years between its first 300 horsepower engine in 2006 and its first 350 in 2017, and spent that entire gap building a reputation for engines other manufacturers and dealers openly call some of the most durable four-strokes on the water. Suzuki has never chased a spec sheet number just to chase it. That same discipline shows up in how it's selling right now. Just this July, Suzuki Marine also extended its ultimate 7-year limited warranty on new 150 to 350 horsepower models with no participation fee required. Exactly the move a company makes when it wants buyers thinking about trust, while the bigger announcement is still being built behind the scenes. A rushed V8 that ships before it's genuinely sorted out would cost Suzuki far more in warranty claims and repair shop reputation than staying quiet ever will. So when Suzuki's own president says the company has big plans for the future, that isn't filler language in a routine press release. It's the closest thing to a confirmed countdown the entire outboard industry has gotten in 9 years. 3 of the big 4 outboard manufacturers already have their V8 or bigger on the water, right now, today. Suzuki is the only one still holding its cards face down, and its own leadership just told everyone, on the record, that the reveal is coming. Whether that reveal turns into the engine that finally answers Mercury's V12 and Yamaha's V8, or turns out to be smaller news than the whole industry is bracing for, is still an open question every rival engineer is watching closely. What do you think Suzuki is actually building? Tell me in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one.